Hey everyone, my name is Zach. I'm a 22-year-old competitive bowler from Canada, currently living near Toronto. Welcome back to the COMPCLIMB training series, where I record most of my training, provide in-depth analysis of every session, and just chat about climbing with an emphasis on competition. So today we have a banger of a session to feature. I'm at Grand River Rocks in Waterloo, and we are doing a comp simulation. So now this isn't just like a normal comp simulation. I was like really looking forward to this one going into it, because I had messaged the head setter of this gym, whose name is Jack. Maddie and I are good friends with Jack. He's one of the best setters in the province right now, and he's like super psyched. He's one of the most passionate setters that we've been like in contact and like working with recently. And so I knew that if I asked him to set me like a comp simulation or like put some good boulders up for me to do a mock comp on, that he's like the most qualified person around here to ask to do this. And so what I did was like a month and a half out from today, while we were still training in Germany, like I had my training planned way in advance, obviously. I said, hey, Jack, we're going to be at this gym. We're going to be at your gym in like a month and a half, and I want to do a comp simulation right before nationals. Can you slowly start incorporating some like comp style boulders and some good, like really tricky stuff in your sets, like leading up to this day, so that I can have like a really good comp simulation to do? And he was super psyched on it, and he took on the challenge. And you'll notice that he did a really great job, even just by looking at this first boulder right now. Like, this looks like it's straight out of the national final itself. Like, this boulder is amazing looking. Jack did a really great job with this challenge. And so I'd been mentioning that like the mock comp that we did at Joe's recently was sort of like supposed to be like a feel good mock comp, and I knew that the boulders are usually quite doable at Joe's for me, so I went to do a mock comp there to almost get like a little bit of a confidence boost, because I knew that I had a good chance of doing really well on the boulders, and that was like pretty much the case. I did pretty well, but this mock comp was quite different. I knew that Jack like would definitely want to challenge me really well, and I knew that this comp simulation was going to be the opposite of the confidence booster. This comp simulation was designed to really help like bring up my comp try hard mode. Also, I'll pause and mention on this finish hold, I couldn't match it before because it's like got the dual text on the top, but there's actually a little strip of texture on the right side, and it's almost like a crimp. And then as soon as I fell on the finish of my first try, and then I realized that there's that little pat, I went back and I looked, and I'm like, oh, okay. So that was actually like, that's like, this is the kind of stuff that Jack is really good at as like a comp setter. He will just use these little tricks to get you. And that's what I mean by I was expecting this to be sort of the try hard mock comp. Not even like I don't even mean physically. I don't mean physically like he's gonna set like me a bunch of like super physically hard boulders. And that's not what I mean by try hard. I mean like your mind needs to be firing, and you need to be trying really hard with your mind to like send all these boulders in 5 minutes. And like he's using like that first boulder, and like he's super smart too with like the way he even gave me the boulders. So I'll also mention that we're doing like a 6 boulder mock comp simulation round today. He had like enough boulders. He's like, yeah, man, I got like 6 boulders for you to do today. Like, we're not just doing it's not just like a 4 boulder round. Like he was excited. So he like thought a whole lot about, like, this is Jack right here, by the way. Super nice guy, head setter of Grand River Rocks, if I haven't mentioned that yet. And so yeah, like there was a lot of thought that went into the order of the boulders, and how that would like sort of affect my head game throughout. So for example, like that first boulder that I did was a great boulder to give me as the first one, just because dual text in general can really psych you out as a competitor, and it's really hard to manage. And right away, if you start your competition round and you feel like you're slipping around and you don't feel secure, which is exactly what dual text is assigned to do to you, it just is a great way to psych out the competitors immediately out of the gate. And then a less experienced competitor can have that sort of negative spiral start, and then it just gets worse and worse. Like even just like starting them on like a dual text boulder where they have a few slips, and then that just shoots the confidence down. And so if you're aware of these things as a competitor, it can help you combat what the setters are trying to do to you. So that boulder was a great one to give to me at the start. Like I felt a bit insecure on these paddle moves with the dual text, and then we get to the end, and like competition boulders these days as well can be so simple, or like your result on a boulder can be so simple as just like how much are you paying attention, or how focused are you during a comp round. That first boulder was a great example. All I needed to do that boulder on my first try was to stand back from the wall and look at the boulder better, and I would have saw that there's a little strip of texture on the right side of that finish hole that I could just crimp the edge of that, instead of like expecting, oh, okay, it's probably all dual text. I'll just figure it out when I get up there and I'll find a good way to grab it. If I had just paid a bit more, because as soon as I was like, how am I supposed to actually match this? And I went and I stood back and got a different vantage point. I saw the strip texture and I was able to match it and do it better on my second try. But, I only did that boulder with 30 seconds left or something. So it was pretty close actually. And so that's like a great sort of just setter tactic that you can just get got by something like that. And it's not even about how you didn't really do anything wrong. You just didn't see something. So that was a great boulder to start me off on and kind of got in my head. I'm like, okay, I really need to focus in. And I felt like I was a bit more focused after that first boulder. And then the last boulder to the slab, we're going to go back and try that boulder again after the round. It was actually supposed to be sort of a foot hop thing, but the setters knew that the down climb version was possible, but it was also still really hard. And so often, when I'm trying to send a slab at all costs, I'm going to try and do it a physical way if I can. And so the down climb way just suited me. But it was good. I was feeling good to get a send of the slab. I've often been struggling on the slabs in our comp simulations. And then I get another send of the slab here. This one is a pink tape. So in this gym, the purple tapes that you'll see we're doing are all the hardest grade. And then the black, they have a few black tapes up in the gym at sometimes. And then the black tape is sort of the bonus grade. But purple tape is the hardest. And then pink is one step down. So that last boulder we did was the only pink tape of the round we did. But Jack and Jake, another setter, thought they would incorporate it in the round just because they thought it could get a couple tries out of me maybe, and it almost did. But luckily I was super focused in on this point. This comp simulation honestly didn't even feel like a comp sim. I was really in the zone for this round, and I was it felt like an actual comp round. It felt like the qualifiers of nationals, especially because the gym was just it happened a lot. It happened that a lot of strong climbers were climbing today in the gym. We actually had a fun little crew. There was a little crowd of us, I don't know, seven or eight of us, of 8 of us walking around, and they would I had a bunch of people watching me during each boulder, and I totally felt like I was in the comp. It was great. We had Jack and Jake, 2 setters. Maddie was just hanging out. She was resting, watching me. And then Dawson, another local climber, was climbing with me as well today. And then Tash, and then an old buddy of mine, Nico. Anyway, there's a bunch of fun people sort of creating this fun atmosphere for this comp simulation. And it felt I felt some pressure. I was like, okay, can't let everybody down. I got to do these boulders. So it was actually a really great practice. This is it turned out to be a super great comp simulation, and this is exactly what I kind of want before a big target event. And if you remember in previous videos where I talk about momentum and how if you have a good comp round, let's say you do a competition on a weekend and then you have another comp the next weekend. If you do well in the first one, it or psychologically in your brain, it is a real thing that momentum is not just it's not coincidence when people do well back to back to back. If you do well, you have a way better chance of doing well again in a comp the next weekend, just because your mind was firing super, super well at that previous comp where you're doing well, and these sort of comp style juices are still firing in your brain. So that's sort of what we're trying to mimic here. Is I want to try and do a mock comp where I feel really, really well and I try to perform really, really well. And then that way, if I get some good feeling, which I did today, and I get that good feeling going, I can carry this momentum actually into nationals, even though this wasn't even a real comp. It was just sort of, we just emulated it, and it can work for sure. And then if it doesn't go so well, as long as you can not get too frustrated, then all you have to do is have potentially gain a good headspace from doing these comp simulations. And that's sort of my philosophy by doing comp simulations right before a target event. So now comp sim is over, and we're just retrying some boulders. We're just going to mess around for a bit. That's part of the session as well. And so I wanted to try the initial sort of idea with this boulder that Jack and Jake were going for, which is the paddle campus through. The holds were a bit too good, so you could sort of stop and campus on them like we were doing earlier, but I wanted to just sort of force the paddle, which was a bit contrived, but it worked. And then I took out a foot at the end. And then quick tip of the day on that boulder was for the moves where you sort of have to do a step kick or a jump kick move, and you're really struggling to get your foot there. Really focus on extending your leg, and that really helped me on that move. Just locking it out, and then that way it's has a better chance of hitting the hold. Whereas if it's bent, it's harder for your foot to get to the wall. So that's what I had to emphasize on that boulder. And then now we are redoing the slab with the proper way. You can see we got the whole crew, everybody that I mentioned, trying this boulder, and this was super cool. We all started to figure out a bit better, and then do this foot hop move, which I actually found that I was really struggling with. I was the last person to do it out of all of us, and I was almost trying to use a strength of mine that I've talked about, like my open hips, and sort of jump into and actually like almost grab this position with my hips, and rather than just like balance on it. And I can tell watching these videos back that I look like a lot different than everybody else, and it looks like I'm doing something wrong, but I don't know, I felt confident that I could do it like this, and it actually felt way more secure, even though I kept slipping around. And then when I do it, it looks good, but I think I actually have like something a little bit more to learn on this kind of move. But anyway, that wrapped up the session, and so this video is going to come out like the day before the Nationals starts. So the next time you'll see me in the videos will be at Nationals. So I'm super hyped. I'm feeling good. I think Nationals is going to be a lot of fun. And so what's going to happen with this video is Maddie had a session like the other day, and she's going to do like a little bit of a wrap up of her training and her headspace going into Nationals. So tune in for the last half of this video to see where Maddie's at going into Nationals.
All right, so it's been a minute since I've done a comp climb, and here I am at Climbers Rock. This was, I think, my second session back in Canada. It's a short one. I'm just leading into Nationals right now, so this is about 40 minutes. And yeah, I just got on some hard boulders and was climbing around. There's not really actually much to talk about in terms of my climbing today. The real thing I came on COMPCLIMB today to talk about is the debate of going to Nationals. So in Canada, we have a national team points ranking system. So when you go to events such as Nationals, World Cups, or North American Cups, they count for points, and the more points you get, the higher you are ranked. I'm currently ranked first in the country, and Nationals offers so few points that it would not make a difference in my standings. So me going to Nationals really does not do anything for me when it comes to qualifying for the national team. That said, I still go to Nationals every year, and it's been the case for the last 3 years, I think, or 2 years, where Nationals doesn't really mean very much. And, you know, part of me is actually a little bit disappointed that that's the case. I think Nationals is the most fun event of the year. It is, you know, the place where you go to prove yourself. You know, it's definitely a little bit more about like reputation and like personal glory than it is competing for your ranking at this point, but I still find it an extremely valuable competition. And every year I kind of hum and haw, like, should I go to Nationals, should I not go to Nationals? But I always land on going to Nationals. The reasons not to go to Nationals at this point is to preserve more like long-term training time. So my IFSC season usually starts in April. In this case, in this season it does again. So anywhere from August to April is my off season. So we're in the end of November right now, which is like the height of off season. And to throw a national championship in the middle of that is quite cumbersome. And it ends up not being my best event like by a mile. And it's a tough event to go to because I'm just fully not in the training space to go to it. And I don't train for it. I just kind of go in with the state I'm in. And, you know, like I'm midway like through a performance weight cut. I'm, you know, midway through a high volume training phase. So it's kind of a stressful event to put in the middle. But I really value being a part of the Canadian climbing community. And, you know, showing up to Nationals because it is just Nationals. You know, it has like a bit of like an allure, it is just, people know what Nationals is. People look to Nationals to see who the top in the country is. And I've actually competed at Nationals since 2017. That was the first year I was eligible in Open. And since 2019, I've always been on the podium, but I have never actually won the event. I've come in second, I think 3 times, and third once. So at this point, I'm definitely looking for the win after all these years. But yeah, it's a difficult event to win. The level of the boulders is like slightly lower than you'd see at a World Cup. And that gives a lot of opportunity for mistakes or, you know, not flashing a boulder or whatever it is. So I find Nationals is a very hard boulder or a very hard event to win. And for that reason, I just keep throwing my hat in the ring. And at this point, I'm just kind of crossing my fingers that I win the event. I seem to always do really well. Like I'm always happy with my performance, as happy as I can be in the middle of an off season. But yeah, the win definitely eludes me. Zach has won it once before, and he's come in second. I think we both came in second one year. But regardless of, what performance I'm expecting of myself, what time of year it is, what it actually means in terms of points ranking, I really just do enjoy going to nationals. I've said this for a while, but my true passion when it comes to climbing is not actually the training and the climbing itself. It's more so the competitions. So nationals is like a pretty big one. It's as big as you can get really in Canada, aside from our high performance competition that we have to really select for our team. And I really just enjoy the pressure that you get at nationals, like especially when I'm going in looking for a very specific result. It is a good way to practice that pressure, and I really love just being in the spotlight in terms of the greater Canadian climbing scene. So I definitely do not miss nationals, and I will continue going to nationals as many times as it takes to finally get the win. And then of course, I gotta start defending it. So it's like I'm just kind of playing the long game with nationals, and maybe it ends up meaning something in the future again. Maybe it doesn't. But it's still, I find, one of the most important events to go to as a national team athlete. So I'm very excited for our nationals. At the time that this video is coming out, we are going to be flying to British Columbia. It's in Vancouver this year. So tomorrow is our qualifier. So we will see how Zach and I do. We don't have a live stream this year, unfortunately. So that's kind of a good opportunity for COMPCLIMB to be the live stream, so to speak, of nationals. So you can look forward to that.